conditions for its members. These actions were often met with violent police response. During this period, many AFSCME members and leaders were beaten and tear gassed and jailed. Lucy was jailed by the police in several times in his capacity as a union leader and activist. In 1968, at the age of 35 years, Lucy worked on the historic Memphis sanitation workers strike. He coined the famous phrase, "I am a man," that became the rallying call for the Memphis strikers. In tumultuous aftermath, Dr. Martin Luther King's assassination during the Memphis sanitation workers strike, Lucy helped maintain the Labor Civil Rights Community Coalition that sealed the workers' eventual victory and became the model used across the nation. In 1972, Bill Lucy co-founded the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists to ensure African Americans a voice in the labor movement. In 1984, he joined the Free South African Movement, a grassroots campaign that sparked widespread opposition to apartheid in South Africa. Lucy became the president of the Public Service International, the world's largest union federation, and Lucy was the first African American to hold this position, which coordinates the efforts of 10 million members in over 100 countries. He is credited by thousands of African Americans elected African Americans across the country as the beneficiary of their wins in offices. He's a long-serving member of the NAACP board of directors and was instrumental in the development of the Labor Committee of the NAACP, as well as the Labor Luncheon, which is held during the NAACP's National Convention on the day set aside for programs for organized labor. Lucy, as well as all leaders in unions, urges its members to become active members of the NAACP. The end of an era came on June 19, 2010, as members of AFSCME expressed their gratitude to Bill upon his retirement after marking the end of 57 years of service with the union he loves. Ebony Magazine frequently cites Lucy as one of the 100 most powerful and influential Black Americans. He has 2 children, Vanetta and Phyllis. Please join me in welcoming a leader I hold dear for the political influence he has had in my life and the service that he has given to this nation. Please welcome the man who for 16 years affixed his signature to my paycheck.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cordelia. She made me sound so important, I can hardly wait to hear what I got to say. Let me thank Cordelia for the very kind and generous introduction. I have to sit on this stool because I got a leg, and the problem with the leg is an old leg. And it has to be treated gingerly, you know what I mean?
Not alone.
Let me first thank Ms. Ratcliffe and the officers of the branch for the real kind introduction. Part of the 47th anniversary. It's hard to get a free meal and stuff like that on Friday evening. You have to go for yourself. But I appreciate so much the opportunity just to come by and be part of this activity. And if you bear with me for one moment, I want to just do a couple of things. Brother Bartlett, early on in his comment, he mentioned the CBTU. And then later on, he mentioned the fact that we got to have prayer in school for too long. And I turned to the father and said, as long as they teach algebra, trigonometry, and geometry, you're going to have prayer in school.
No, that's right.
Counsel. And Cordelia mentioned the fact last night of paycheck. She did so much for our union, not just here in the state of Indiana, but across the country. You know, Cordelia is a doer.
Amen.
And she tells you what to do. Hello, at the hotel, asked why was I in Indianapolis this evening. I said, because Cordelia said so. I'm here. Let me take the opportunity to ask Steve Quick. I don't know where he's sitting, Steve. You just stand for a moment. International Vice President for the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. And aside from all the good stuff that he do, he passes judgment on my pension. So it's important how he views me, because whenever it comes before him, I want him to look at my 57 years of funding and appreciate the fact that I need to check. Let me say a word or two. Our life matters, your vote counts. For the next few minutes, I want to see if I can sort of tie it together. And those of you who think you're going to hear a Harvard debate or something like that, ain't what you're going to hear. What I want to try and do is share something with you that is so important to not only our life mattering, but our continued vote counting. As we meet tonight, we do so roughly 25 days before the process of determining who will lead our nation, and in a sense, who will lead the free world. There was a time when we didn't have no say in that. It just went on without us. But now we have a say. And if some of us recall, and admit in the grand scheme of things, we were really denied the opportunity to participate in that. And over many years, the NAACP, its branches, its officers, its volunteers, have brought us to the point where we are full participants. One step at a time, one march at a time, one legal case at a time, one election at a time. We have gradually taken our God-given right to participate fully in this process. And we ought not take it lightly. We ought not take it lightly. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but sometimes the choir needs preaching to.
Amen.
Let the church say amen. And it's not been easy in the past, nor will it be easy in the future to protect the gains that we made. You might think we're having a hard time now, but in 2008, we set up a situation where the rich and powerful really got the shock of their life. And as a result, we have times more difficult than you have ever seen before, because now they realize that we understand how the game is played.
Yeah.
2008 was not an accident, nor an aberration. It was the result of hard planning, careful thinking, and so forth. Tonight, we meet to celebrate and honor members of our community who has contributed to those gains that we made, and who continue the tradition of service and sacrifice on behalf of our community at this branch and other branches like it. I offer my congratulations to these special individuals, because through your activity, you honor the historical commitment of the founders of this branch of this movement here in the state of Indiana, in the city of Indianapolis. So we've been around over 100 years, struggling for, fighting for folks to place value on our lives, and for us to recognize the value of our vote and use it wisely. We've got a situation now that's unusual in the process of elections. Now, I know the NAACP is nonpartisan, so to speak. Nonpartisan, sorry. But here across this country, 100 or more years ago, some dedicated men and women came together really to stand up for human rights, civil rights, and social justice through one of the world's great institutions called the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Now, you'll have somebody, and I suspect you've heard it before, well, what does the NAACP do? I don't hear nothing, don't see nothing, blah, blah. Well, go down to the office and volunteer.
Amen.
And you will find out. 108 or 9 years ago, the NAACP was needed then, and it is needed now. Each of those you will honor tonight probably didn't start out to win an award when they engaged in the activity that caught their interest. They probably simply sought to contribute their skills, their talent, their abilities to change things in their community, their city, and their state. And that is generally what happens. You don't start out to win nothing. You just do what you do, and somebody will recognize that you've done it and will give you some recognition for it. So I congratulate those three folks because this evening will be awarded to your respect for the service they've done. But in doing so, they've measured up to three people who are loved, admired, and respected across the city, across the state, and they're respected because of their passion for fairness and equity and justice. Amos Brown, as was said a while ago, you won't find a whole lot of folks like Amos Brown. You can find some who have stepped in faith, but you don't find many people like Amos Brown who spoke truth to power on a daily basis. Probably with intellect and a deep-rooted commitment to the struggle for equality. Or Bill Crawford, for that matter, an old and dear friend whose history of life struggle made and keeps his memory in the hearts and minds of people across this state and across this nation. When you guys here have heroes in your midst, you think they just operate here. But Amos and Bill Crawford, were national in scope and national in impact. And I probably can't say enough about Pastor Michael Jones of Progressive Baptist, whose prophetic ministry transcended race and class and one's station in life. He was always there when anyone needed him, either for counseling or just needed a shoulder to lean on. And we sorely miss these folks. We miss their presence. But we don't miss the legacy that they have left. These individuals made a significant contribution to the state, and I suspect they would have looked with pleasure and pride on those who are being awarded and given recognition tonight. But I also think they would have looked, if I know them right, and I think I do, they would look with some concern as we look at our situation right now. They would look with some concern to make sure that our communities, our neighborhoods, have not lost sight of our history. I believe they would tell us that we have a moral responsibility to remember the past and relate the past to our current realities. As we meet tonight as NAA, we are continuing more than 100-year struggle to not only increase our power, exercise our strength, and make us more relevant to the needs of our communities or our state. We fought this 109-year-old battle against and with the self-declared greatest system of government known to man. Now, we've had to debate that from time to time, because there's been from time to time some question about it. A system that is founded on high principles and high concepts, but by and large operates on low standards and often immoral procedures. That's us. And somebody ought to say, amen. It's the truth. Case in point, about 83, 84 years ago, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, one of the great presidents of our nation, raised what I consider to be a fundamental question. He raised the question, is a nation judged for its greatness by what it gives to those who already have too much, or what it gives to those who have too little? That's a serious question. And we most times come up with the wrong answer. Second case, the governor of this state, a week or so ago, in response to a question about the taxes of Donald Trump. Now, I didn't eat already, so I'm going to say what I got to say and go home. Everybody's clear. And he said, the governor said, and I quote, the law, speaking about Trump's taxes, the law did exactly what it was supposed to do. Anybody remember that? Yeah. And in so doing, his analysis of this law, Donald Trump walked away with $916 million that came out of the pockets of regular taxpayers, working people, and poor people. Now, if a law works exactly as it's supposed to do, I can't help but wonder if that's the right context for that law. Dr. King once said, he says that our struggle, meaning our struggle, labor, religion, community, our struggle is to make America live up to what it said on paper. What it said about all of its people. In one particular quote, it says, we believe these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. But there's something fundamentally wrong with a law that will give somebody who's already rich another $915 or $16 million of our money, which they don't need and didn't ask for. Yet I wonder whether the governor would treat an unwedded mother who is simply trying to keep the lights on or put bread on the table, or would they send them the social service book with every rule to keep you from getting what you are legally entitled to? I wonder how the governor would react to that. For 100 or more years, we've been moving toward that goal of equality. We've come a long ways, but we have a long way to go. Let me give you an illustration. A week or so ago, a lady was on television speaking about some of the problems that she saw. And she said, and I hope maybe some of y'all saw this. I'm going to quote what she said. She said, we didn't have these problems before Obama got elected. And y'all see that? We didn't have these problems before he got elected. She appeared to be in educated, knowledgeable lady, but totally oblivious to the new realities of our nation and our country. The problem she was talking about is the economic pressures that every single family person feels on a daily basis. The cost of education, trying to send the youngsters to school, college, so they can come out and make their full contribution and make their life matter. Now, I moved closer to the TV to get a good look at her. And I'm convinced, as I got closer to look, that she was around 8 years ago and was around 8 years before that. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that she knew about the problems long before 8 years ago. So that wasn't new, what she said. What was new was the before Obama piece. That was new. So let me sort of refresh our memory, because it relates to our vote count. I wanted to yell at her from the television and say, lady, Obama saved this nation.
That's right.
And we in this room helped him do it.
That's right.
So the fact that you thought all these problems existed since he got elected, let me tell you how it was the day before he got elected. The day before. We had lost 6 million jobs the day before. And we were losing jobs at the rate of 750,000 jobs a month. Now, I don't know what all y'all do, but if you didn't get caught in that 750,000, consider yourself lucky. Because there are families all across this nation whose lives were torn apart by the poor economic policy and planning of those who was in office the day before Obama came into office. The bankruptcies, small businesses all across this country at record levels, homes being lost at the time, the day before, we still talk about the day before. 3 million homes lost, another 1 million homes in the pipeline. That's the day before. Bankruptcies on a personal basis running at record levels. The auto industry near collapse. And let's remember, what those folks who had money then said, let the auto industry go under. All right, remember that? Yeah. The global economy, I mean, all of the nations of the global economy was in a meltdown, heading for absolute total collapse of the global economic system. There were 55 million people, and I have to assume families, who had no access to affordable health care. If you got sick, you just got to tough it out. That was the day before. You got that. So I just lady, I just could not yell loud enough. That she needs to remember what it was like the day before he came to work to start turning it around. Now, he probably could have done better if he had somebody to work with. And I said that because the night he got sworn in, they had a meeting. And they swore that they would do nothing to help him at all. So those of us who work in the public sector, those of us who work in the private sector, building trades, pipe fitters, plumbers, all of those who depended on capital improvement in order to survive, we just got caught in the mix. And sometimes we let our hatred overrun our good sense. From time to time, people vote against their own interests.
Yeah.
Because they can't overcome their past stupidity and hatred. As a people, sometimes I get go on these radio shows. Y'all probably might wonder. Go on these radio shows and people call in, and sometimes they say, "Well, y'all ought to be thankful." We all do. Ain't nobody but me. Why should we be thankful? Well, the government is doing this, and the government is doing this. The government ain't doing nothing that we're not entitled to have done. As workers and contributors to the growth and development of this nation, we have paid our dues. So I had challenged one lady one time. I said, when you say y'all, you talking about Americans, or who are we talking about? I said, because we fought in all the wars this nation has had. We have gone and defended the freedoms that other people profess to love so much, but they was busy when it came time to go. I'm not talking about Trump, because I don't believe it. But when the time came to go, they weren't there. We have fought, and we have died in places whose names we can't even pronounce. And we as a people, we've been willing to make whatever sacrifice or commitment to prove our worthiness to this system. And every step in the process, there's a Donald Trump of the world that will use our very presence to polarize our system and divide our nation and our country among each other. We have to listen very closely to what is being said on these talk shows. Now, he's in a little bit of a crack now, but he's going to try and work his way out of that. But we have to listen. And we have to talk to our children and have to teach our children how to listen to what's being said. Because some of us get confused.
Yeah.
He even had mentioned the bar, and I was just talking to him. He said, I heard this fellow Trump talking. He's just like the rest of us. So anybody with $10 billion ain't like nobody in this room. We don't pay that. From the conduct of the wars, maybe some World War II types in here, we saw the island hopped from Pearl Harbor to Tokyo. We had young brothers from Yazoo, Mississippi, Bastrop, Missouri, who sort of double-clinched their way across Europe, driving deuce and a quarters, trying to keep Patton from running out of gas. I mean, we ran the Red Ball Express, and without them, we might still be in Europe, because they saved this nation in its war with Nazi Germany. We had the Tuskegee Airmen. We get so little. I'm told that we had pilots who were just shocked beyond belief when they saw these brothers flying P-47s and keeping German fighter pilots off their behind. That's what we have done. That's what we have done. We were at the Yellow River when China joined in the Korean country. We were in the jungles of Vietnam, dying in disproportionate numbers to our presence in the war.
That's right.
We need to tell our kids
That's
this,
right. That's right.
so they understand that we ain't freeloading. I mean, we paid up. We were in the desert. We were in Desert Storm. We were in Kuwait, in Iraq, in Afghanistan. We've been all these places whenever we're called upon. So we have every right to demand equal justice under the law. And what's interesting, and I just really think so much of our past, we've never demanded or asked for anything that everybody else didn't have already. Our basic request has been and always been just a level playing field, one set of rules, that everybody know what the rules are, and just the opportunity to play. At one time they would go make us have to run 1st and 15 and do the 1st and 10 like everybody else. But all we want is just fair play. Now the crazy crazy teabaggers and some of their running partners would like for themselves to think that our good fortune is based on their misfortune.
That's right.
Nothing could be further from the truth. We ain't took nothing from nobody. All we want is a shot just to earn our own way. And some of them really big for the good old days, when fear was on their side. Well, brothers who have been to Afghanistan and Iraq and all that kind of stuff, like, she's no trouble with them no more. That ain't no issue. That ain't no problem at all. We just want to be treated fairly. And if folks got a problem with our presence, that's their problem. And us fathers got to stand up and say that. Don't say our young people don't understand. Young folks understand. They are clear. They ain't going to tolerate the stuff that we had to tolerate anymore. The good old days when we didn't know how to organize. The good old days when we didn't know how to mobilize. Or the good old days when we didn't strategize. Or the good old days when we didn't vote. Well, them days are gone. And they're not coming back. Our votes gonna always count from here on in. Our lives gonna always count from here on in. And it's not to the detriment of anybody else. You just cannot continue to keep killing us day after day after day. And we go forward with business as usual. We can't have that any longer. Our kids ain't gonna tolerate it, and us as old folks won't tolerate it either. So I tell my grandson, you mind the rules, obey the law, but ain't nobody gonna be whooping on you. That don't make no sense. Anybody whooping gonna be me. If you ask why all of this is important, 25 days from now, we're going to elect a president. And it's going to be one of the two that's running. So how did we get to where our vote counts? How many remember the name Richard Hatcher?
Oh, yeah.
And I make that because in 1973, a collective group of us came together and just put together a strategy. We didn't know how long it was going to take. But what we said is, we're not going to continue to do what we're doing. We're going to change the game. So we put Dick Hatcher's vision along with the brother's name, Mahmoud Baraka.
Yeah.
And we married that up with Carl Stokes and Coleman Young. Stokes was a skilled political leader. Coleman was a pragmatist. We melded that with Jesse Jackson's activism. Barack Obama sits in the White House today because Jesse Jackson ran.
Yep.
Because Jesse Jackson ran. We had political leaders who had never come together. If I'm running long, somebody will raise their hand. Like I say, I ate already. We're not going to do it. The registered voters, we made telephone calls. We called our auntie and our uncle back home. We can call our cousin who they had stopped talking to. Call my brother-in-law and I still owe money. We stuffed envelopes. We carried our neighbors to the polls. African Americans, Latinos, Hispanics, sane white people, the LGBT community, working women, for a better community. We all came together around a plan. And folks didn't think we knew what we were talking about. Well, Obama got elected. And he got elected over the power players trying their best to divide us up, one against another. North against south, south against north, east against. They tried their best to divide us up, workers with non-workers, organized and unorganized. We had 8 years of division. And they thought we wouldn't go win. We could have told them 4 days before the election who was going to win. Because they didn't understand something that's fundamental to us. And that is the connection between voting and that door that slammed behind our ancestors as they left Boree Island. mean, it's a direct connection. They didn't understand the connection between a 5,000-mile trip chained to the bottom of a ship.
Yeah.
There's something that makes you want to think about that. Yeah. They didn't understand the connection between voting and our voting and the sacrifices of Medgar Evers and Murray Evers, or the courage of Fannie Lou Hamer, or Rosa Parks. These were things that happened that we must remember. And let me also say, so few of us understand the contributions of the Jimmy Lee Jacksons.
Yes.
And the others who have given their lives in this struggle. It is now our responsibility to continue. 30 days from now, or 25 days from now, we got to step up to the plate. We got to step up to the plate. Because workers, those who need to work, our future depends upon our full participation. So if you see somebody say, well, it don't make no difference, tell them about those who came before us, who gave so much so you would have the right to participate. That's what this is all about. And I applaud the NAACP branch. I applaud all those volunteers, all those who keep doing what we need to be doing to keep our struggle alive. Because if we don't do it, I think either Amos or Bill or Pastor Jones will come back and remind us of our responsibility. So thank you so much.